Billy McFarland is back at it again and has announced Fyre Festival 2. What are the highlights? April 2025 on a private island in Mexico. The rest of it is kind of coming out in the works, but he is being quite tight-lipped. Let's talk about it. So, Fyre Festival 1 did happen about 7 years ago, and as I recall, it was kind of a mess. It was on a private island in the Caribbean, and it was one of those, the advertisement had everything what was expected to be a luxurious, stay. The amenities, the food, the talent, all the things were said and promised to be offered in the tickets to be like, the party of the year kind of deal. Party or event of the year, if you will. And it just did not happen that way. Consumers, of course, customers who purchased the tickets, again, ended up making their way onto the island. Got to the island. They had, not a good accommodation. They had tents that were there. The tent situation almost led to like a camping kind of deal, not that luxurious piece. The food, I'm not even sure if they had really much meat. They showed the cheese sandwiches. I don't even know if there was no meat with the cheese sandwiches, but they had the cheese sandwiches. Entertainment was lacking. They did have a variety of headlines. If you recall, it should have been like Kylie Jenner was one. They did list several others, and it just, to be able to give that support, that hype, and it was just not the business. Now, here's the kind of scene, if you will. You come to the private island, everything's supposed to be situated and set up. And at the end of the day, once people got there, their accommodations were not ready. I think just the average person would be flustered with, you've traveled all this way, you come to, get to the event, which you paid, a pricey ticket for. We're going to talk about prices for Fyre Festival 2 in a minute, but a pricey ticket for, your accommodations are ready. The people who are supposed to be, catering for the event to be able to, offer, the food and the services and the things, they really can't even do their part because the setup wasn't even done right. So, what can you put on, the people that's supposed to be doing the service if the setup wasn't set up accordingly? Now, at the end of the day, it did seem to be that Billy McFarland kind of took on far a bit more, than he could chew, right? He was planning. He was, directing this. He was setting up this. He was, making arrangements for the caterer for that. He was just doing too much. He was just doing too much. And at the end of the day, it ended up being a muck. Now, long story short, what I didn't realize at the time was due to wire fraud and other funds owed to investors to be able to set up prep and get this event, going and kick-started, he ended up having to serve 4 years in prison for it. So, this is now, many years later, but he served his time in prison. He has come out. He is saying he's a new individual. He's revamped, and they've announced Fyre Festival 2. So here are the highlights. I had to jot them down because part of me was in disbelief. I remembered how the whole first, Festival 1, Part 1 went down, and I'm like, I thought that whole thing kind of would have ended. So the fact to come back into it was like, I was shocked. Now, one part of it is apparently in the sentencing, like I mentioned previously, he served 4 years based on the wire fraud. Didn't have any stipulations that led to him not being able to continue to host events or create this kind of, continue in this business line, if you will. There was nothing that said that. I have seen that in certain entities, and we've also seen there was a popular reiteration of a Netflix series that came out basically recanting how the woman defrauded men, went on these dates, and pretended to be in relationships with other men, and that individual, it was fraud. There's no way to chop it. It was fraud. It was illegal. She ended up going to jail, but later on down the line, it was listed as a stipulation in there that she was not able to do certain activities, or she was not able to have social media accounts or to be online, because that's basically how the whole thing started, right? She was a catfish, and then, the fraud and stuff happened later on down the line. So, as I understand it, for Billy McFarland, that was not the case. They did not have any of those kind of stipulations listed there with his charges. It was just serve the time and then you're done. So, Fyre Festival 2, what we know. Now here again, April 2025, private island in Mexico. The island has not been booked. So, or rather, if it's not been booked, it's not firm, right? One of the two. It's either not booked yet or it's not firm. And so they've not released that information out. They're kind of keeping it tight-lipped. I do think that he has a few, islands, a few options available in and around the vicinity, of the Mexico situation. But I think he's gonna have difficulty honing in on getting certain things confirmed. Because the reputation at this point in time was just not good. He did mention that there's going to be, of course, differences in or changes as into makeup for what happened with Fyre Festival 1, but I do think a lot of people are on the side of I'll believe it when I see it kind of deal. Now, the other side of the coin is, hey, it was a complete flop. It was a complete disaster. I do believe there will be a number of people that will want to go just to verify, hey, is it a flop 2, 2.0, or did he actually step up and not just over deliver, but actually deliver what was promised. So I do think it will be attended. I don't know by whom. Given the estimated price of the tickets, I'm not sure what the attendance rostering or age group is going to look like. It is said to be that the tickets go from $1,400 up to $1.1 million per ticket. So $1,400 is supposed to be like the cheap seats, like the cheap ticket to be able to get your way over to Fyre Festival 2. And that's a little, that's some change. That is definitely some change to know, on an iffy, that's definitely some change to, put out on a, they don't have the best reputation. The event that they held before wasn't great. And to top it off, there are still folks from that first event that haven't been compensated. There were workers from that event that weren't compensated because basically they were betting on, of course, the event being a success. And then the contractors that he worked with were then supposed to get continued funds. And then those contractors who hired employees were betting on those funds to come in so they could pay their employees. So you still got people from, the 7 years ago gig that are not compensated. Now, interestingly enough, with the investor piece, it seems to be that Billy McFarland still owes investors from that Fyre Festival 1 as well. And it is expected that based on the results of Fyre Festival 2, the investors are set to get a percentage of the earnings. So I don't even know if that helps or hurts because it helps him in a sense, I guess, because he needs to still work on paying them back. So I guess that's part of it. But it hurts in a sense of if Fyre Festival 2 is also a flop, he's kind of deeper in the hole. So I think that definitely gears him up to want to, one, get back his reputation if it's possible at this point, and two, try to make it right. And he said in several media outlets, hey, I want to make it right. Things didn't exactly go as planned, but, I understand I can't have my hand in everything and I'm going to have to outsource, a lot of the work. And few of the areas that he mentioned outsourcing was one, food. Not really sure what the plan was originally supposed to be, but there was supposed to be all this luxurious food, so to end up with a cheese sandwich, people were kind of pissed. But outsourcing the food, so you're going to have caterers come in, you're going to have them just deal with the food. You're going to say, hey, we have estimated these are the tickets, we have estimated X number of people, take care of the food, make sure you got enough food to cover it. Boom. And he did say on several occasions, several outlets, we will be spending on food. We will be spending on food. The food will be good food. That is why that has come out. And I kind of believe it because obviously whether he cheaped out on the Fyre Festival 1, it didn't work. Whatever he did, it didn't work. So he's not going to do that. He's going to do something different. He's had 4 years in prison to think about it. I don't think it's going to be a complete flop. I do think something, some interesting things will happen. But definitely let me know in the comments what you think about the food. Do you think he'll get it together for Fyre Festival 2? Or do you think it's going to be a repeat and he's going to kind of cheap out, on the tail end of it from Fyre Festival 1? Now, another piece that ended up being the issue was safety and security. Now, it doesn't seem to be, I guess, part one being on an island was that maybe he thought it was secure. You're on an island. The only people on the island are the people that's supposed to be here on the island. I don't know. But he did mention outsourcing of security and have security groups or teams being there to address it. And he said, the best way for it to be safe and secure is if I have no part in it and I have nothing to do with it. And I thought that was a wise communication. That was a wise communication. Now, also with that being said, especially me being an HR person, I was like, hey, if it goes sideways, there's some other issue. He's also got somebody to throw it on. He's got somebody to throw it on. It's genius. Couple people turned up missing, something. I don't know. But at the end of the day, he's going to have somebody to throw it on. He's going to say, no, security company was here. I hired them. And, they have a good reputation. They were supposed to be secure 24/7. They've got the cameras. They've got the this, that. Then he's going to hand them over to the security people. And the security people is going to say whatever it is they're going to say. I think that's genius. So in that sense, there's some honest or some, responsibility there to be able to move forward to keep or at least generate what should be a safe, environment for Fyre Festival 2. That's the claim. The last thing that was mentioned was going to a location that already had pre-built structures. And I was like, oh. I think, of course, it does make it so it's, probably more expensive. That is what it is. But if you go and they already have a hotel or a condo or already, situation set up, they're going to have their water, they're going to have fridge, they're going to have their amenities, they're going to have all the things because the structures are already there. I think that's a beautiful thing. Going to, I guess this whole having it and wanting it to be on an island, I guess the island part kind of creates that exclusivity. And you can kind of control, who comes in, who goes out, and kind of, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, kind of like what happens on our island at the Fyre Festival stays on our island at the Fyre Festival kind of deal. So I get the concept of it, but the problem of it is if there are issues or when there are issues on the island, then now you got to outsource and have people come from other places to the island, just like folks who legit live on islands, right? There are issues and there are, just typical challenges that come with living on an island. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Fyre Festival 2, minimal $1,400 ticket, up to 1.1 million. Will you be going? Will you be going? Do you feel like this would be a dope girls trip, guys trip, where you can go, get your tickets, check it out, and then, have a good time. Have a good time. If you plan on getting a ticket, or if you went to Fyre Festival 1, and now you see Fyre Festival 2, are you willing to give it a second chance? We all want to know. We all want to know. Definitely leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.